and co-founder of the now bankrupt Three Arrows Capital. Welcome, Kyle.
Hey, Laura. Thanks for having me on.
Your crypto hedge fund, Three Arrows Capital, collapsed in June 2022. And you haven't been cooperative with Teneo, which is in charge of liquidating 3AC's assets. You then launched and closed a crypto bankruptcy claims exchange, OpenX. You launched 3AC Ventures, which now appears to be defunct or at least has a non-working website. And recently you became the advisor to Oxfund. When I asked on X what I should ask you, a large number of people expressed dislike of you or disapproval with how you've conducted yourself since the collapse of 3AC. So why do you continue to try to work in crypto?
I mean, Laura, you had some loaded intro there, right? Yeah.
Right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and oh man, where do I even start? Okay, look, yesterday I put this out on Twitter and I said, whilst everyone is mid-curving FOMC, the Camel Crew, we knew exactly the one question worth asking, and that of course was, what color tie was he wearing? Now this is the type of left curve supreme alpha that you will only find on this channel, so please do hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, show some love. For anyone that's not really sure what we're talking about here, okay, purple tie is the signal. Grey or blue means we go down, and purple tie, of course, means we pump. Crypto El Prez absolutely nailed it. Purple tie means we pump. FOMC done. Nothing else matters, okay? Me and the wife were laughing about this yesterday. I've spent so much time. I think I'm close to 40,000 hours of study, of markets, of experience, of trading, and after all of that time, I have found myself in a position where I look only to the color of this, to the color of this man's tie. This is all I care about nowadays, okay? If it's purple, we're going up, and if it's blue or gray, apparently we're going down, okay? Now, it's so stupid, but it works, okay? So anyway, if we're going to be slightly more serious, based on FOMC, we kind of knew a bounce should have been arriving, right? We knew we were going to get some kind of bounce because that's what the cycles were telling us. So Bitcoin was inside its daily cycle low timing window, gold was inside its daily cycle low timing window, and the S&P was right inside its half cycle low timing window. So I said the shakeout could continue for a few days because obviously there's always a little bit of tolerance around the counts, but a bounce should be coming soon. And indeed, once we saw the purple tie, we knew the bounce was confirmed, right? So just to illustrate this point, Bitcoin right in that timing window to see a cycle low, it is thinking about confirming, right? If it can hold the breakout of this downward sloping blue resistance line, then we've got a breakout, we've got a confirmed cycle low, we can scratch this right-handed count off and say we've got a full new 60-day cycle ahead of us, and that would be really nice, okay? It tells us to expect much higher prices. Now we're not out of the woods yet. We have got to close the daily candle above the trend line, but so far the signs are very encouraging. Hopping into the gold chart, as you can see, got a cycle low, confirmed it with a trend line break, pushing off strongly, exactly what we want to see. So happy days there. And the stock market, you know, we are right in that neighborhood to see a half cycle low, somewhere in this neighborhood, right? 20 of around 40 days. So it makes sense that we got to push off. Now, I apparently am kind of wrong on expecting this cycle to roll over. As always with cycles, the later we go, the more certain this decline into the cycle low comes. So maybe it looks a bit more like this, okay? Maybe it comes from higher up, something more like this. But either way, nice to see a bounce in the stock market. We've still got plenty of exposure. And all of this kind of made sense, as I said, right? If we look at the cycle counts, if we look at where we were going into FOMC, all of that pointed at getting a bounce. And indeed, we did. If we're going to get slightly more serious, we are now 93.5% probability that we are not going to see any cuts in May. We also have dropped down to a 26% probability from a 40% probability that we are going to remain paused in June. So we are starting to put cuts back on the table for June's meeting. And clicking out to July, you can see we had an 80% probability of seeing cuts in July's meeting just 1 week ago. And fast forward to today, we are now down at around 13% probability that we remain paused, telling us to keep an open mind about seeing those cuts show up no later than July. The big take home out of yesterday's meeting was the Fed reiterated its expectations for 3 rate cuts this year. Okay, so rate cuts are coming. And that means the blow off top thesis is still intact. We are probably still going to go a lot higher than when they start cutting rates. Historically speaking, that marks the top within about 2 months of the onset of the cutting cycle. So as ever, one day at a time. But for now, everything kind of behaving how it expected to behave. It's also important to point out markets are largely rallying at the moment because Powell said it was appropriate to slow the pace of the asset runoff soon. The reverse repo is getting to a level which is going to cause the Fed to compete with the Treasury for liquidity because we are now at that loot the Treasury stage, of course, and they will soon have to end quantitative tightening. They are tapering the tightening. They are reducing the rate at which they are competing with each other for liquidity, and thus they're going to be more accommodative to markets in the short term. Markets like that, markets are rallying. Gold has sniffed this out a long time ago. That's why gold is breaking out to new highs, and we're going to talk about a little bit about gold in just a minute. But first, I wanted to point this out, okay? This is the most insane total mess market worldwide he's ever seen in his trading life. This is happening in Europe, Japan, USA. Looks like a penny stock manipulated attack rather than a mature market. This is a total pony show, a total mess, okay? And when you just look at this, if you missed out on this entire move, then yeah, okay, it's pretty angry. But the reason I bring this up is because, again, I want to point out that this is the most angriest, most doubted, most shorted, least understood rally of all time because it makes no sense, okay? Like I said, do we need to pull back up the tie? Where's the tie? This is what you need to get through this market, right? This is what we need to get through this market. Nothing makes any sense anymore, and it's going to continue to be the most angriest, most doubted, most hated, most shorted rally of all time because the thing is likely going much, much, much higher before we, of course, get that crash and that rollover. In line with this whole blow off top into deflationary bust idea, I think this deflation is going to be caused not by the M2 like I have been speculating. If you've missed me talking about that, I think this is going to be more of an asset price deflation, but I still think we get deflation. I still think we get that Dixie to 130 plus. I still think we get a record QE bond and all of this stuff. Anyway, one day at a time as always, but for now, okay, don't hate the rally. Okay, just understand where we are in the cycle. This is ludicrous mode. Nothing makes sense. Okay, only the extreme left and the extreme right of the curve are going to be able to deal with these markets. Hopping into Bitcoin, it may well be time to fasten your seatbelts. Now, I don't think we're out of the woods yet. And I want to go back to this chart and just point at that and say, you know, like I said earlier, if we can confirm a breakout, then happy days. We can be confident this is the cycle low. But if this thing is to roll over today or even tomorrow, and especially it come down and undercut that low, then we could be going a lot lower before we can actually find the true cycle low. So we are not out of the woods yet. So far though, it looks like a really nice bounce off of support and continuation to the upside potentially. And so if that's true, okay, if this really is the start of a new daily cycle for Bitcoin, then is it reasonable to expect one of these fractals to play out, okay? Push, rejection, rounded top, break above the old all-time high, and off we go. Same thing here, right? Pump, rejection, rounded top, into the all-time high, break, and off we go. Right now, what have we got? Same thing, down, rounded top, looking to retest and break out of that old all-time high. Hopefully, this is what is to come next. But I like what I'm seeing, okay? In the short term, we should be expecting something like this, I think, especially if we can confirm that daily cycle for Bitcoin. I'm seeing a lot of people laughing and jeering and mocking gold at the moment. And I wanted to bring this up. This is really important. Okay, you can see people saying, congratulations, I'm up $300 since 2011 on my 1 ounce of gold. Gold is a very hated market at the moment. And it's easy when you look at Bitcoin and Bitcoin's performance in that same time frame, you would have been crazy to hold gold relative to Bitcoin had you have known the future performance, right? Bitcoin is obviously the fastest horse in this race. This is by no means me saying that I think everyone should hold gold and not Bitcoin, okay? You want to have the fastest horse whilst the fastest horse is winning. But I want to offer this as a perspective, okay? As a perspective, the people mocking gold, of thinking gold is never going to do anything spectacular just because Bitcoin has been outperforming it for a long time. And yes, I understand Bitcoin is superior to gold in many ways, but make no mistake about it, okay? If you think gold is never going to rally, if you think this kind of lackluster performance is going to continue for the next decade, then you have been socially engineered to think that way. That is my opinion, okay? Make no mistake about it. In the short to medium term, I do expect, and I've been saying this since November, that we are going to see a rally from what was at the time 18 ounces of gold per Bitcoin up to around 100 ounces of gold per Bitcoin if we can get the completion of this and a touch of the upward sloping channel. Since then, okay, I posted an update when we were at 21 ounces and I said, look, a little bit of a shakeout and then we should start the next push higher. And of course, since then, we are now at 30 ounces. Okay, we are working our way up here. We are now around halfway to completion. Now, let me point out a few things. In the short to medium term, is it reasonable to think that we go higher? Yes. What does that imply? That implies Bitcoin does better than gold in the short to medium term. That implies I want to have my money more invested in Bitcoin than I do in gold. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, at some point, if we get up here in this neighborhood, we are likely going to see an inversion of that. Meaning in this period of time, we will see gold outperform Bitcoin. And thus, I want to exit a large portion of my Bitcoin when I think the top is into gold. So I've talked about this before. I'm sure I'll talk about it again. But in this period here, there's going to be a load of people laughing and mocking and jeering and saying gold's never going to do anything compared to Bitcoin. Gold is always going to be inferior to Bitcoin. And this is going to be the time where you need to be able to adapt. This is going to be a time where we need to be willing to push our dogma aside. Yes, Bitcoin has been way better to hold since its inception, but a time is coming where gold is going to outperform. If this gold breakout is for real, we could see 50%. And again, a lot of people will laugh at that. What, 50%? Who cares? Who cares, right? Who cares about 50%? Bitcoin's up 350, 400% this year. My meme coin's done 5,000%. Why do I care about 50%? Yeah, I understand that is your social conditioning at the moment, okay? That is what the market has programmed you. That is what these people, the central banks, have instilled in your brain, to think that you never need gold and gold is never going to do anything. But there is coming a time where gold outperforms Bitcoin. So going back to my idea of this 50%, if gold can indeed break out and do 50%, that puts gold somewhere in the $3,000 an ounce neighborhood. Now, if Bitcoin really is going to fulfill this fractal with gold entering a new bull market, let's be clear, gold has broken out above its all-time high. It has started a new bull market. We are targeting around 3K gold, okay? Something like this. We are targeting something like this, a move up to here for gold over the next coming cycles, okay? Up to 3K. Now, once we get to 3K, if the fractal for gold and Bitcoin is going to play out, that implies a $300,000 Bitcoin price. Now, do we get all the way up there? I don't know. But I'll tell you something else. If this fractal fails, I will consider this fractal to fail if it hits around 60 to 65 ounces of gold before it rolls over. And at 65 ounces of gold, with gold being equal to $3,000, that gives us around $195,000 Bitcoin. So my take home from this is, yes, gold is in a bull market. Gold is on its way to 3K, no problem. My take home is also that Bitcoin is still the fastest horse. Bitcoin is likely well on its way to 90K before some big macro corrective fall, and then we get that push to 150 to 200K. I still think that is going to happen. I believe that whilst all of this happens, we get the completion of this yellow fractal in the Bitcoin to gold ratio, giving us around 100 ounces, or in the worst case, around 60 to 65 ounces. And then I believe it will be time to rotate out of Bitcoin and into gold as gold continues to do gold things, and everyone that has been programmed to think that gold is trash and Bitcoin is the new gold, they are all going to find out exactly how the real world works. In case anyone's saying, I can't believe Camel is more bullish on gold than Bitcoin, look, there's a time to be in the market, there's a time to be out the market, and there's a time to go fishing. I will be reaccumulating as much Bitcoin as possible down here. Don't get it twisted, okay? I still love Bitcoin, but if Bitcoin is going to have this pump to 200K and then crash up to 85%, do I want to sit through an 85% crash? No, of course not. Okay, let's just be real about this. So that's how I see it. I think I've spent way too much time on this, but frankly, I'm going to continue to spend more and more time talking about gold because I do see this, and I honestly interpret this kind of attitude, this dismissive attitude towards gold, as social engineering. Like I said, they want you to think you don't need gold. And if you don't have gold, you don't have any chips at the table at all, period. Especially if you think you've exited the system with Bitcoin and all your Bitcoin is KYC Bitcoin, you don't even run your own node, okay? Something to think about. Now, one day at a time. For now, purple tie means we pump, okay? We're going to continue to move higher probably across absolutely everything. In the level 3 member section, we've been increasing exposure to the precious metal markets. We've been adding crypto miners, including some that aren't even listed here. I did add a Riot position yesterday, so I now have officially got a Riot long in here, looking to target much higher up for Riot. I also added a second Marathon position in here, so again, also looking to target much higher up. I have not added the partials that I took on MicroStrategy or Coinbase, and I'm not going to be adding back up here. This is I consider this far too risky. I still have absolutely loads of exposure, so even if I see a huge move up here, that's absolutely fine. I paid myself, and I'll be looking to redeploy that when we've got a much higher probability set up higher up before that final leg, something like this. So for now, still pushing what I've got left of this position, still pushing what I've got left of this, and plenty of dry powder to take advantage of the rest of these opportunities as and when they show up. I will be looking to add a long for Bitcoin if we can confirm this is a cycle low, targeting way, way, way higher up. Okay, this will probably be either my last ad or there might be one more ad after here, and then we'll be looking to sell the whole lot at the top if I can of course achieve that feat. So not currently long yet Bitcoin, looking to add another position, looking to get long if we can confirm this cycle, and like I said, if not, playing plenty of exposure via the miners. Still pushing this Dow Jones long, so we'll keep pushing this until it becomes unreasonable. And notice how the Russell 2K as well, breadth is widening. Okay, this is becoming much more of a true melt up as we get more and more participation from the small caps, bouncing off of that blue support zone. Going to continue higher, long and strong, continue to push, and we'll see what the market can give as always. I'm your boy Camel. I hope you're doing well in life. Until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.